Welcome back to your next lesson on your wedding toasts and speeches. In this lesson, we will go over who speaks, when they speak, and for how long. First, we'll go over your rehearsal dinner. The best part about rehearsal dinner toasts and speeches, in my opinion, is that they tend to be fun and spontaneous. The setting is usually a little more laid back or casual than the actual wedding and typically has fewer guests, and most of the attendees know each other by this stage of the wedding planning. So, if you're looking to follow a sort of traditional timeline for your speeches or just want to know how the order typically goes, then traditionally, as the groom's family would pay for the rehearsal dinner, during the main course, the groom's father would be the one to start the toasts by welcoming the bridal party and all other attendees, thanking everyone for coming and being part of the bride and groom's big day, and then offering a toast to the bride and groom. Then the bride's father would follow and do the same. If the mother of the bride or groom wanted to give a speech and toast as well, they would follow the father of the bride in no particular order. Followed by the best man, and then any other wedding party members or your officiant if they were in attendance. And then the floor would open up to any close family or friends in attendance that wanted to share their well wishes or their favorite memories or stories about the two of you. And the bride and groom would close out the speeches by giving their own, thanking their parents for all of their support, love, and guidance, their family and friends for being part of their special day, and then finally their wedding party for all of their help in planning the wedding and for standing by their sides as the two become one. At this point, the bride and groom's speech is generally followed by the presenting of gifts to the wedding party and any other important people in attendance, particularly if it's something the bride and groom would like them to wear with their wedding attire. And again, remembering that your rehearsal dinner is more casual and laid back setting, so the speech will tend to be a little longer and take up quite a bit of time depending on the number of people toasting you. So in planning, you'll definitely want to make sure you have plenty of time allocated for this portion of the rehearsal dinner. Now let's talk about the toasts and speeches on the actual wedding day. To start, the Master of Ceremonies, or MC, introduces themselves and welcomes everyone to the reception. The wedding MC introduces the bridal party and announces with great enthusiasm and applause the bride and groom's arrival into the wedding reception. The blessing. If you're inviting someone to bless the meal, do so immediately or after the welcome toasts, but before dinner is served. The welcome toast. Whoever is hosting the event should speak first and should take the microphone once your guests have found their seats. Traditionally, the first toast is most often made by the father of the bride, as it was the bride's family whom paid for the wedding. He welcomes the guests, including the groom's family, thanks everyone for coming, and will talk about his daughter and her new husband, and then raise his glass to toast the happy couple. I want to mention that you can have whomever you want to do the welcome toast. If you're paying for your own wedding, you and your spouse can welcome your guests. If the groom's parents are paying, they can do the honors. Or you can appoint this role to whomever you choose. If the father of the bride is the one to do it and you would also like the parents of the groom to speak, they should do so following the parents of the bride. For same-sex weddings, it's up to the couple to decide whose parents should kick off the evening. Following the welcome toast, the groom gets up and thanks the bride's parents, his parents, the bridesmaids, his groomsmen, the best man, and everyone who has helped them pull off the wedding, your guests, and then the bride. The best man. The best man traditionally speaks toward the end of dinner. The best man should introduce themselves and speak about how they know the groom. They then thank the organizers of the event. They will read any messages from those who couldn't be there. They might tell a story about themselves and the groom. They would offer some advice to the couple, say some complimentary words about the bride, make mention to the bridesmaids. He can then say something positive about the couple and their relationship and show his or her gratitude for being part of their day and wish them lots of happiness. And finally, leads the guests into congratulatory toast to the bride and the groom. The maid of honor. While the maid of honor can follow the same outline as the best man's speech, it's more common for her to focus on the bride. She will introduce herself and speak about how she knows the bride, thank the organizers and any key players in the planning of the wedding, talk about how she met the bride, and drawing from past experiences together, the maid of honor can tell a heartwarming or funny story from their friendship or from their wedding planning escapades. She will talk a bit about her new husband, maybe how they met or when she knew he was the one for the bride. She should talk a bit about the bride and groom as a couple and offer some sound marriage advice. She will then show her gratitude toward the couple and thank them for having her be a part of their special day. And finally, she will lead the guests into a congratulatory toast to the bride and the groom. Now, of course, the two of you should take the mic and thank your parents, key players who have helped you pull off your big day, and of course, your guests for celebrating with you. You could speak right after your maid of honor and best man, or wait to make a speech once you've gotten up to cut the cake. The MC then closes the speeches by thanking everyone and instructing them as to what is happening next: dancing, entertainment, cake cutting, etc. Again, you've heard me say it time and time again throughout the course, but it's your wedding. Feel free to deviate from this timeline in any fashion. It should be used only as a guide, and you can get additional speakers. You can add additional speakers or cut it down as you see fit. Maybe your best man is a woman, or your maid of honor is actually your guy of honor. Maybe one of them is scared to death of public speaking and would rather not get up and speak at all. Or maybe the bride's father has already deceased and you've chosen your dog as your best man. Remember, there's no set way or list of who must or mustn't give a toast, unless, of course, you don't want your drunk hippie uncle getting up and roasting the two of you. Otherwise, choose the order that best suits the both of you. So, keeping this in mind, let's also talk about the timing of the toasts and speeches. There are generally 3 times I see couples choose for their toasts and speeches. The first being right away. Some couples just want to get all the formalities out of the way right away. Some couples just want their families and bridal party members to enjoy a stress-free event without worrying about when they have to get up and give this speech, so they choose to get them done and out of the way right away. I even had a couple, and I kid you not, choose to do them right away because both of their families enjoyed having a few cocktails and they didn't want to end up with drunken toasts on their wedding video. And if you choose to go this route, schedule them to happen as soon as everyone has sat down after cocktail hour, you've made your grand entrance, and perhaps even done your first dance. And then ask the MC to invite the host up to take the microphone and give the first speech, or if you are doing so, have the blessing of the food and then the welcome speech by the host. Another thing is, you can have all the toasts take place back to back, or you can take a little break in between. For example, if you're having a buffet, you may just want to begin before everyone goes up to assemble their plates, or you can choose to do it once everyone has gotten their food and is seated. And if you're doing a seated meal, you can begin the toast with the blessing and welcome. Your caterer can then serve the first course, and you may want to resume the toast while the second course is being served. A second option to consider is waiting until all the entrees have been served. This way, the toasts will still happen early enough, and as the main course is often the longest, it allows for a little more time talking without any interruption. If you choose this option, just make sure that anyone who is giving a speech and toast are the first to receive their meal so they can enjoy it before it gets cold. Then, while your other guests are being served, they can go up and make their speech to a captive audience. And your third option is to have the toasts read at the very end of the meal service. This allows anyone giving a speech to still enjoy your reception without any stress. You can choose to have them begin speaking as the meal is wrapping up, or right before your music or entertainment begins. I like this option if you didn't choose to do your first dance right after the bridal party introductions, because at this point you can do them right after the toasts, and then your parent dances and kick off the reception by inviting your guests to then get up and join you and open up the dance floor. So now that we've covered the timing and order of the speeches, let's spend a minute talking about how long they should be. A good speech will last anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. It's important to allow your speakers a set amount of time for their speeches to be completed so you can stay on schedule for the rest of the evening. If you're having many people give a speech and toast, then I always recommend shortening them to the 3-minute limit. You can always ask your DJ MC to signal them if they're running over the time so they can wrap it up. And keep in mind, if you notice that someone will steal the show with their speech because they are just humorous or over the top, leave their speech for the end. This way, you're sure to end them on a high and happy note that will set the tone for the rest of your festivities. Now let's go over some tips for your speeches and toasts. You'll want to make sure to watch the time so that nobody goes over and gives an elaborate 15-minute speech. If someone's uncomfortable speaking in public, simply don't make them. And you'll want to try to do your speeches and toasts as early as possible, shortly after the introduction of the bridal party and the bride and groom. And it's okay to keep them simple or humorous or classy and elegant. And make sure that you save the best one for last so it sets the tone for the rest of the reception.